Hey everybody, welcome back. This time I want to show you a tanky build for Tiger Stance that excels in the late game. This build does enough damage to kill squishies in a couple seconds while still being tanky enough to frontline for your team in fights or to dive towers for kills. We'll be rushing a Tiamat first item, then after Tiamat we'll get a Black Cleaver, and later we'll get Titanic Hydra and Cinder Hulk. So in the early game most of our damage comes from our AD with our Q and Tiamat actives. In the mid game, when we have more sticking power with a Black Cleaver, we can do a bit more damage with Fervor of Battle and with the armor reduction on Cleaver. Then in the late game, most of our damage will come from our Titanic Hydra Area of Effect, and any enemies hit by the AoE will get their armor shredded by our Black Cleaver. It's also very good for split pushing because the wave clear is so fast. We're going to start level 1 on the Hunter's Machete and a Rejuvenation Bead instead of a refillable potion, because we are going to be going for a Tiamat first recall, so this will save us a little bit of gold. For the first recall, you can try to get a Tiamat, Longsword, and basic boots. Then also in the early game, you want to pick up a Stalker's Blade, a Ruby Crystal, and an Oracle Alteration at level 9. Around this time, you can also upgrade your boots, either defensively, or if you're a little bit fed, you can go for Swiftness boots. Now the Black Cleaver is optional. This is more of an offensive choice, so you'll do more damage if you build it. The Black Cleaver is really good on Tiger Stance Udyr because it only takes one Tiger Stance auto plus one more auto to get your full stacks on the armor reduction passive. But if you're a little bit behind, if you're losing the game early, you should probably just skip the Black Cleaver and go straight to your tanky items. You always want to get your Cinder Hulk and Titanic Hydra. And after this, depending on whether you chose a Black Cleaver or not, you're going to have either 2 or 3 slots left to choose defensive items for the situation. So if the enemies are mostly physical damage, you want some armor, but if the enemies are mostly magic, you want some MR. If it's kind of balanced, you probably want to get a Guardian Angel first, and then maybe a Zizirot Portal. For the runes, we're going to be using all attack speed quints, attack damage reds, flat armor yellows. For the blues, there are 6 scaling CDR and 3 scaling MR. For the masteries 18-0-12, Fervor of Battle, the Black Cleaver will give us move speed in combat, which is going to help us stick to people and stack up our Fervor of Battle. Also, by the time our Fervor is stacked up, their armor will be reduced from our Black Cleaver. For this build, we're going to be following the same general Tiger clear route that I usually use. Starting at blue buff, level 2 wolves, and then after we kill red buff, we'll get our level 3 bear stance. Use the plant to jump over the wall. Then you have a few options. You can either gank a lane if the enemies are pushed, but if they're not pushed, you can try to invade the enemy jungle. Level 1 Tiger, we have one already activated early, so we can do a double Q burn when blue buff spawns. We'll attack twice, then activate our Q. If you do it just right, you should see 200 damage stack up. Let's kite backwards a little bit to save a little bit of health for us, because the blue buff is going to have to take a step every time to keep up. Level 2 Turtle. Focus the small wolves first. So let's take a look at top lane. It looks like that might be our first gank after this red buff. So let's take this red, let's pull it into the bush just to be safe. And we don't really need to use our smite for the first clear, we can save it for an invade. So let's head up to top lane. Riven engages at a perfect time for us. He blows all those cooldowns, so we're just going to walk in, stun him, then switch to Tiger Stance, attack him a couple times. Now here's another example, right after the first clear, another gank. This time my teammate has hard CC, it's Shen, so he has a taunt, so I'm not going to stun this teamo immediately, I don't want to overlap it. I'm going to wait for the taunt to be almost ending, then stun him. Switch to Tiger, a couple more auto attacks, and we get that kill. Now, in this game I went down to kill Scuttle, and then I swept the enemy jungle with this plant to see if the enemy jungler was nearby. But then Teemo was teleporting back to top lane, so I went right back up to top. And same thing, Shen's gonna engage with his taunt, and then I'm gonna not overlap, but chain him back to back, the hard CC, a couple more auto attacks with Tiger, and I'm gonna attack move in the direction that Teemo wants to run, so I can stay in range to keep attacking him. Now here's another option you can do for the first clear if you're starting on this side of the map. If you take your blue buff, and if you know the enemy is starting at his blue buff, you can have time to sneak into the enemy jungle and steal the red buff before he shows up. Let's pull it into the bush just to be safe again. You don't need to use smite on red, you could save it for raptors, but it's more of a gamble because the enemy jungler is probably going to show up before you can take raptors. In this game, I just smited red buff just to be safe, to have my extra health, and then I slowly took out the raptors to get my level 3. Now meanwhile, mid lane looks like a potential gank. I was able to just take the raptors to get my 3, head down to mid, sneak up behind them, and this time since I'm already so far behind this guy, I don't need to start with a stun. I'm going to start with a Tiger Stance and then instantly stun him after that. Attack move, So this way I can get another Tiger Stance soon after that to get 2 burns in a short period of time. And we see the enemy jungler just walked over my ward that I left, so I tell my team in chat, I type Veins at Krugs because I saw him walk in that direction, and there's nothing else to kill in that area. So now bot lane knows that they're not going to get ganked, and top lane knows to watch out. So before our blue buff expires, we're going to have enough mana to farm these raptors and Krugs. We're also going to leave a ward at this red because we're not going to kill that just yet. And let's head right back to mid lane because he's pushing again. We're able to sneak up right behind him, and then activate our Q and Tiamat for the burst damage. Another gank with the Tiamat here, waiting for this Yasuo to engage. Patiently. Finally, he does engage. And since he has his tornado up, you gotta try to dodge that skill shot. So you just run in a zigzag pattern, you don't really need to think much about it. Run in a zigzag, and people tend to miss their skill shots a lot. Let's head down to bot lane to try to get another kill or two. But since our AD carry is not here, let's not be too aggressive. Let's just farm this wave of minions. Yasuo's coming down also. I'm just going to dive straight onto this bot lane, ignoring that Yasuo, because I can burst out this Janna real quick, and then I'll definitely be able to finish off Jhin also. So Jin's dead, and meanwhile Yasuo is going to be killed by my teammates over there. That's going to buy us enough time to grab this tower down here. We're also going to take this red buff on the way out, and we're going to recall and finish our Black Cleaver. This is the type of game where you do want to build Black Cleaver when you're a little bit fed. You can do a little bit more damage. So the burst damage gets pretty ridiculous. I'm not that fed, 4, 1, and 6, and you can see it just takes 1 combo to kill this Jhin. But if you're a little bit behind, you should probably skip the Cleaver and just go straight to Cinderhulk and Titanic Hydra. Now here's an example of a game where I didn't build Cleaver. After this Tiamat, I'm just going to kill this Kate real quick, and then I'm going to recall, finish my Titanic Hydra and Cinderhulk. So we're really tanky now, just 2 really big health items, and we can still do a lot of damage. So right here, I'm still just going to jump onto this Caitlyn, and I can still kill him in mostly 1 combo. If he didn't have summoners, he would have been dead in 1 combo. So even with all this damage that we can deal, we're still tanky enough to dive Nexus like this and survive. Here's another example of a tower dive with Cinderhulk complete. He condemns me away, I activate Ghost, and he's gone. Not even a big minion wave will protect you from Titanic Hydra Udyr. And it looks like they're all going to be accidentally killed in the process, just with all this crazy AoE damage. Don't even have to think about it. All the minions are dying. Speaking of minions dying, look at this clear speed. This is another reason why this build is so good in the late game. The split pushing is too good. So while the enemies are grabbing that dragon, let's just take out their inhibitor real quick. And my Vayne is going to kite these guys right into me so I can pick up a couple kills before going down. And that's the end of that game. Another example of a split push, there's a big team fight happening in mid. My AD carry kills a few people. They also have a Jax split pushing bottom. So we're just going to push top and end the game. The Jinx tries to stop it, but we all know what's going to happen to him. Even after Jinx gets out of my auto attack range, I'm still able to finish him off by attacking these minions. And that's the end of that game also. I just wanted to include this last clip to show you how tanky you are. I want to show myself taking a lot of damage and show how little it hurts. Let's get a little bit of damage onto this Jhin. Watch out for all those skill shots. Watch out for the hard CC. You don't want to get stunned under tower. So here's an example of them just blowing all their cooldowns on me. And we've still got over 1,000 health to spare. Now since we already have top inhib and mid inhib down, the last lane to push is bot lane, so let's group up with our team in bot as the super minions push top and mid. Now for this last team fight here, I'm just going to take this time to say thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you learned something, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you learned something, or if you want to see more videos like this one. When I see a video with a lot of likes, that tells me that I should make more videos like that one. Thanks guys, see you next time.